Good morning, children. I really believe and hope that the videos which I make, you people really try at home, and you also try speaking, narrating that story, because that's really important. And my only purpose of making such videos is that I want my children that they can also speak, and there's no doubt that you can speak. Thing is only you don't practice it, right? And once you start practicing, you will be like any other child who is very fluent in speaking English. Now today's the chapter which we will be doing through this video is deep water. And there is a lot of positive things we can take away from this chapter. And this chapter is, again, it's not based on any imagination. It's an autobiography. So let us talk something about the author. So the author is William Douglas. William Douglas was an American author, and he did graduation in humanity with subjects like English and economics. And after that he taught for 2 years in a school. But then soon he got fed up. And then he gave up teaching, and then he decided to pursue a legal career. And he was a leading advocate in individual rights. His service tenure was 36 years, which remains longest service period in the history of court. He was also a very good friend to Franklin D. Roosevelt. Now, this Roosevelt is such a renowned person, so we need to discuss something about Roosevelt. Roosevelt was an American politician, and he became 32nd American president, and he remained in his position till 1945, till his death. And he was a member of Democratic Party, and he won the presidential elections for the record 4 times, and he remained very active in the first half of the 20th century. Now the scholars have the view about him that he is one of the 3 the most important and influential presidents of America, along with George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. But then he has also been subjected to substantial criticism. So something I have said till now about William Douglas and Roosevelt. Now this particular chapter, Deep Water, is again an excerpt taken from the book of William Douglas, and the name of the book is Of Man and Mountain. In this autobiographical essay, he explains how William Douglas, as a child, he got nearly drowned, and how he finally overcame his fear of water. Now, if we talk about the theme of this particular chapter, so the theme is, it's a real life personal account of experiencing fear and steps taken to overcome it. There is a parallel theme along with it. It is a psychological analysis of fear. Now, there are some similar, stories which you might have read in your class 10th and 9th and 11th even, which have a parallel theme that go along with this chapter. So there's a chapter, we Nelson Mandela, we heard about him. So his journey and his struggle for freedom is again something about believing in himself. And class 11th there was a chapter called We Are Not Afraid to Die. It's also about also about your fight and the courage which you show and eventually become successful in your journey. And in class 10th, there is also a very similar chapter that is called, My First Flight. Do you remember this chapter? That's a beautiful chapter. And in this chapter, we see that, there is a bird, and that mother bird has got some little ones. And in the process of time, all the little ones get into flying, and they take their flight, but there is one small little bird which is left back in the nests, and he doesn't have that that courage and the guts to take his first flight. So this all talk of the similar thing. And the very most important line of this chapter, which I would like to quote, is, and it's said by Franklin D. Roosevelt. He said that all we need to fear is fear itself. There is no any other greater fear than fear. And we say na कि जीत डर के आगे जीत है. That means that on the other side of fear lies freedom. So I want to relate the same idea with that when I see most of the children, and when they are called on the stage, when they are given given an opportunity to speak through some mic, they have lot of hesitation and lot of fear. But they do not know that once they come out of this fear and hesitation, there lies a world of greater opportunities. Once a child learns the art of speaking and can stand out confidently in public places, and can deliver and can speak of his mind, his life becomes so easy. His journey for the success becomes so easy. Now I would not say much on all these things, and now I would take you directly into the chapter. So since it is a first person, it's an autobiography and of the life of William Douglas. So William Douglas, when he was some 10 and 11 years old, he thought of learning swimming. And then there was a river next to his house also, Yakima River, but the river was, very treacherous. That means the river had already claimed the life of many people. But then there was a swimming pool next to his house, that is YMCA swimming pool. And then he thought of joining the swimming pool, and then he got a pair of wings, water wings, and then he starts going to that swimming pool, and then he was trying to learn swimming. And then William, as a child, he had an aversion to water, and for this there is a reason. That is, when he was some 4 to 5 years old, his father took him to the beach of California, and they were standing in the surf, and then a strong wave comes and knocks him down. Though his father was there with him and his father was holding him, but still he got a fear, and that he was not really able to come out of that fear, and that fear remained in his mind for a long time. So now coming to this, we find him going to that YMCA swimming pool for learning swimming. One fine day, he comes to that swimming pool when there is nobody around. And one more thing, he was very skinny in physics. So really, he doesn't want to get his things exposed, because he was really very lean and thin. But anyhow, one fine day he comes to that swimming pool, and then he sits there, and then he does not have that courage to try going to the water, and he was simply sitting. And then there comes a boy from the backside, and he was physically very strong, built-up boy, a senior boy of some 18 to 19 years of old age. and then he holds him and tucked him into the water, and he throws him. Actually, see, if you have an understanding of swimming pool, so you know it, that how, in what way the swimming pool is designed. So there is a gradual slope, right? So in one side it is hardly 2 to 3 feet, but the slope is gradual, and when you go to the deep side, there you find there is a there it might go still 9 feet. And then William Douglas is thrown into the deep part of the water, where there is depth of 9 feet. And when he is thrown, he is very scared, but then his mind doesn't stop working, and then he was landed in the water. He lands in the water in the sitting position, and then he as I said, that he was scared, but his mind was still working, and then he was making some plan, that that how he would come out of this, if this condition. So he had a plan that the moment he would go and touch the floor of the swimming pool, he would hit it with his feet, and that would help him to come up into the water, and he would come up onto the surface, and then he would lie flat, and he would paddle his feet, and that would help him to go to the side of the swimming pool, and he would catch hold of something, and finally he would come out of this was his plan. But it really never worked. And when he was going down, though the distance was just 9 feet, but that distance seemed to him long as 90 feet. And then when he was going down, he had that plan in his mind, and he hit the bottom with his feet. And then the way he had the thing in his mind, that he would be thrown up like a cock, he would come up to the surface, but that did nearly really never happen. And then he comes to the surface, and then again he goes down, because the things did not work as per his plan. And then again he goes down, and then he comes up for the second time, and then he goes down again for the third time. Now by this time, since he hadn't learnt perfected the art of swimming, so his heart was aching, he was getting breathless, his legs and hands got totally tired, and he was not able to move, and slowly he was sinking into the oblivion. Now what he next remembered, he found himself outside the swimming pool, lying on the floor, with lot many people covering surrounding him. And there was that long the tall boy who threw him, and he was smiling, and he was telling, he was just doing it as a sort of fun, but that thing could have taken away his life. Now, after going through this experience, he had that fear, which he had already, but then this time the fear had got deeply rooted in his mind and heart. And then life, years passed by this way only, and then he finally he was thinking to overcome of his fear. But initially, that fear and the terror remained in his mind so strongly, that he avoided getting close to water bodies, and he stayed away all kind of water activities, and going for fishing and canoeing and all kind of water activities. That means you can say that he stayed away even from the sight of water. But then again, he decided of he decided to learn the art of swimming and to overcome his fear. And for that reason, he had a trainer, and that trainer was because he had that information about all his misadventure with water. But then the trainer, with a lot of patience and motivation, was slowly and steadily building the swimmer in him. In the beginning, he was just made to sit by the side of the swimming pool and made to paddle, and then he was allowed to go into the water, and there was a rope tied around his waist, and then it was held with the help of some pulley. So the same practice, he was given the same practice for months and months and months, and then when he was bit by bit, he was learning the art of swimming. So his trainer tried different kinds of, the swimming. There are different forms, and there are different techniques for the swimming, and all that he was learning slowly and slowly. And when the trainer found him that he was doing well in that swimming pool, and then gradually he took him to some bigger swimming pool, and finally he was taken up into the some natural sources of water bodies like lake. They are mention of the certain names, and then he was doing well. But still sometime when when he was swimming into some water bodies, that old fear, would come back to him and would try to scare him. And here at once and twice in the chapter, this fear factor is personified. It is described as a person, and then William would talk to that fear, calling that Mr. Terror, again you are here to scare me. But he could talk to that fear on his face, and he was not going to give it up. And then by and by he learned all that techniques. He was really doing well, and finally he was taking to a big water bodies in the lake of his area. And finally he really learned that art of that swimming, and he became so expert, and he got so skilled in the art of swimming, that he could trail any path, he could climb any peak, and he could brush aside his fear. So this was a kind of summary. In the summary you would find that you would find something or the other things missing from the story, from my summary, but it's an outline sketch of the story. And like this you do the practice and try narrating the story for like 2 to 3 minutes, and this will really help you in the art of speaking. Thank you, children. God bless you.